100.7 WMMS.
We're going to have the Poundcake weigh-in about a half an hour or so, a little bit closer to 4 o'clock. Comedian Chris Frangiola is back in Cleveland this weekend to do Hilarities right around the corner, and so he'll be joining us later on as well. I'll have Terry the Goat's Week 6 picks for you. Terry the Goat lives out there at Marcinek Farms. Al Marcinek is our bureau chief in Carlton, Pennsylvania. And I think this is Terry's 4th season with the show, 3rd or 4th. And every week she picks the winners for a number of games. And she had her best week ever last week. She went 6-4. And so this week she's given me 8 games. And so we'll get to those a little bit later on. Tomorrow on the show, Mo Rocca, the great Mo Rocca, from The Daily Show, CBS This Morning. He's got a very funny book and podcast called Mobituaries. I'll talk to him. Our friend Tammy Pescatelli is going to be on the show on Monday. She's got a big show coming up at Playhouse Square. She's doing the Hannah Theater next month with our buddy Dolph Ziggler, with Nick Nemeth.
Nice.
Opening up for her. Who else is going to be on the show? Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins will be on the show very soon. And I'll have a bunch of tickets. I'll tell you, before I have Billy on, I will tell you how you will be able to join us here and win tickets for that Pumpkins Jane's Addiction show at the Romo Fijo on the 29th of this month. So some good people coming up. Hold on. Cavs win last night.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You got to get those preseason wins because it sets a precedent for the regular season. So they're very important.
And yet they don't count.
They count in a different way, Alan. They count mentally.
Yeah.
Unless they lose, then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But if they win, it's a big deal.
That's right.
But if they lose,
Heads I win,
Don't care.
tails you lose. 105.99 here at home over the Atlanta Hawks. That's fun. If you're going to lose, don't do it at home. That's no fun. So Cavs over the Hawks last night. Tonight's Guardians game, number 2 against the Yankees, has been postponed because they're going to get a lot of bad weather in New York tonight. So it will be played in New York tomorrow at 1:07 p.m. So we'll air the pregame right after 12:30, right into first pitch shortly after 1 here in MMS, and then we will join you live after the game. So we'll be here to close out the week because, frankly, we're just waiting around to do the Bill Squire Friday Get Down.
oh, yeah.
Tomorrow. We'll just be here waiting for the game to be over and then, throwing the show around like it's a wet rag until we get to the Friday Get Down.
I need everybody to know when the weekend starts, from old to young. Like I said, I was at that.
From old to young, yes.
There's a young lady. I mean, she was a little kid. She's probably 3 years old, but she loves to get down because she likes to know when the weekend starts. Even though her weekend is a lot like her regular week.
I was going to say, every day is the weekend for a kid that young.
But she likes to know.
Yeah.
She wants to be alerted. She likes to galugga.
In a way, that's how a young child could potentially learn how to tell time.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who will suggest that it's no longer important for kids to know how to tell the time on an analog clock. And I'm very ambivalent about that because just because something has been done a certain way for a long, long time, obviously things change. Doesn't necessarily, we don't use sundials anymore either. So whether or not little kids should know, because it's still in books, still part of their kind of lesson plans. Hey, what time is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Little hands on 2, big hands. But is that relevant anymore? How often are you going to run into a clock like that outside of a classroom?
I have a clock
But that's
like
only
that.
So do I.
you? You have a clock with hands on it?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Now, the battery's been dead for about 2.5 years.
Oh my God.
But I
You're
have it.
annoying.
What?
So it's right
I
twice a day is what you're saying.
An Alexa. I have my phone. I always know what time it is. It just looks nice.
Brian
This is
and
what
I
I'm
argued
saying.
about this.
Well, because and to Bill's point, I think these clocks are decorative.
It looks very
Well,
nice.
so I have one, and
Yeah.
when I moved in, I was like, "Hey, where are we gonna put my clock?" And he's like, "We're not hanging up a clock."
Right.
And I was like, I like the way those old school looking. I like the way that they look, and
Is
it's
it like
convenient.
a big one?
It's pretty big. It's probably a foot in diameter.
So it's decorative.
It's decorative
Yeah.
for sure, but it's also in. I was like, can we put it in the back room somewhere? There's no clocks back there. The front room, you have the kitchen, you have the microwave, you have all kinds of things. He goes, you are never far enough away from your phone or your watch or anything that you need to know the time on the wall.
People are always breaking my balls for wearing a watch. They were like, it's just jewelry now. And I used to fight them on it, but they were probably right.
Right.
Oh, it is jewelry. I love a good watch, too. I've been wearing an Apple Watch for years, but I kind of want to get
Yeah, all the people who
nice
gave me a hard time for wearing a watch are now wearing their phone on their wrist.
Yeah.
That's all an Apple Watch is. And I
Well-
refuse to get an Apple Watch.
We finally put up the clock, and he's like, okay, that does look nice. And then he struggles to tell time on it sometimes. I'm like, is that why you didn't want a clock? Do you not know how to read that? He goes, no, I just get a little confused.
He
When
gets
it's close
clock blocked.
Like when it's when it's past the half-hour point and the little hand starts to move toward, in between 1 and 2, and he's like, I just get a little
Yeah, but
confused
until it passes, too, guess what?
It's still one.
I know,
yeah.
I know.
I don't understand the confusion. Huh.
I'm like, so that's
I'm pretty
what it is.
stupid, too, and
Right.
I'm like, I got that.
It's not that it's unnecessary. You don't know how to read an analog clock.
Makes you feel dumb.
But do children need to learn it?
I don't
Yeah.
think you need to.
I don't think they need to. I think it's not. I mean, did we need to learn Roman numerals? No, but they taught us.
That's what my clock is. It's Roman numerals.
Yeah, there you go. So it's double
Double.
outdated stuff.
It looks cute, though.
When I went to that Smash Room, what is it called?
Rage room?
Rage Room, yeah. I went to the Rage Room a couple weeks ago for my girlfriend's birthday. There was a mom and her daughter came in, and I think the daughter was like 14, 15 years old. And the lady's like, do you know how to sign your name? Like, actually, like, cursive? And she's like, yeah. They actually still are teaching some kids that. I know there's some schools where they've phased out cursive, but
Yeah, I feel like
she's like,
that's
I can sign my
unnecessary,
name.
too.
yeah.
There's a lot of those things.
Except for signatures. You need to know how to do a signature.
I guess, but
And have a bunch of people just printing their name for their signature.
yeah, but do you need to learn the whole thing just for the times when you sign your name? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, electronic signatures, there's a lot more of those than there used to be, and you just check a box. It's got your name in it.
You can do that, or sometimes you have to write on the screen
Yeah.
and sign it.
Huh. Hey, James in Akron. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
Yeah, so like I'm an electrician and we install clocks at like schools and hospitals. They're all analog.
Oh, good for you.
You still put them in. What, so they can go time of death to, what does that say, nurse? The hands between the 1 and the 2. I want to get this guy's death time right. What? Just put up digital clocks.
Yeah, they're not passing levies, so they got the same old clocks.
Yeah.
Same old
Yeah,
clocks.
it'd be way easier for digital clocks, but yeah, everything's still analog.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want James to remain gainfully employed as an analog clock installer. But, I mean, okay, thank you, James. They're still going out there. New ones are being put up every day. We have a digital clock in here.
Mm-hmm.
I have a timer on my board. I've got the time on any one of these monitors. I've got my phone right
watch,
here.
laptop,
They still
there.
felt compelled because sometimes you just want to glance up and, in this business, you live your life by a timer.
As the great RX Bandits once said, analog boy in a digital world.
That was bad religion.
I
The
know.
great RX Bandits.
Yes.
Wow, you'd be the only person to call them great.
I love them.
Good job.
That wasn't a cover, was it?
No. Bad Religion had 21st Century Boy or whatever it was, or 21st Century Digital Man, whatever that song was. I got some. By the way, we were talking about candy before the break. Speaking of candy, Ryan Reynolds and Colin Hanks are doing a John Candy documentary.
Love.
Yep.
Love that.
They're like, expect a lot of tears, is what they said. John Candy. I've got some kids' corner here. Since
It ain't easy being a kid. Now look at what you gone done did. Whoa, it's time for Kids Corner. Kids Corner.
Well, you might have forgotten the name Nicholas Cruz, but he was the Parkland school shooter in Florida, and the jury has avoided the death penalty for him. And that's making the families of the victims very upset because they thought for sure this guy was going to get the chair. They had to decide if he was a cold-blooded killer or if he was brain damaged. The entire defense was hinged on this kid was screwed from birth. And so they were up there like, well, he is the way he is because fetal alcohol syndrome and blah, blah, blah. And so you have to have a unanimous verdict in these cases. So if even one person disagrees with the other 11, they're not going to work. So they just did a day of deliberations. Of course, he killed 17 people. This was Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School 4 years ago. And this is when a lot of those kids from that school, the survivors, took to cable news. This kid, David Hogg, was kind of the face of that whole movement, and they were doing a lot of press all the time to try to get some kind of gun reform. But this Nicholas Cruz kid is getting life in prison. So he avoided the death penalty. 24 years old. And they found that even though his crimes were heinous and cruel and atrocious, they didn't find, I guess there were one or two people on the jury that agreed with the defense that there were a lot of circumstances in this kid's life and in his brain and whatever that led him to do what he did. And so there were a lot of victims' families because the victims' families all come to hear these verdicts read, and some of them were like leaving, very upset because they were like, we want this dude to fry, so he's going to live out his. Now, again, we just finished that Dahmer thing, and he was, of course, killed in prison about 18 months, I think, into his 15 life sentences. I'm sitting there going, he's never going to last that long. What are they doing? 15 life sentences? He didn't even make it 1 year or 2 years, whatever. You just what?
I just don't understand because someone like that, it seems like they want to die. They want to die. And frankly, I don't think we should be using our tax dollars to feed and clothe this dude and house this dude. If he wants to die, let him die.
Well, but the legal system is not set up for if this dude wants to die, let him die.
But
it's beyond a reasonable doubt, the charges that are brought. And there were, I don't know if there was one or more people in this jury who there was not unanimous consent on what his motivations were. And the prosecution was like, look, this dude was walking through the school, killing people, and then going back to make sure they were dead. So it's not like he was in a froth of insanity or whatever, you know?
I understand that, but like, the legal system also uses our tax dollars. So they should fight for the common citizen as well and think what a life sentence would do to a young man. He's not an old man that committed these crimes. He is a young dude, and he will spend the rest of his life eating thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of our tax dollars. Not good money, or not good food, but still food that we got to feed him.
Right, but fortunately, the legal system is not set up along the lines of, I don't want to pay for this guy.
I'm sure that's just what the victims think, or the victims' families think.
Well, that's true, and you're not alone in that. That's why, but again, it's not inexpensive to put someone to death either. Because if you get the death penalty, you immediately get 9 levels of appeal. So that's why, like, you can get convicted of awful things and get the death penalty, and you're still alive 15 years later. So you're still paying for somebody. Like you said, you're still paying for somebody for that length of time, even if they got the death penalty. Because they don't kill them the next week. The lawyer goes, we're going to appeal. And sometimes they win their appeal, and sometimes they don't.
What's the quickest?
There was a long period of time between John Wayne Gacy getting the verdict of the death penalty and when he died. It was like 13 years. So you're paying for him that whole time.
What's the quickest someone's been put to death?
I don't know. Between sentence and execution?
Yeah, being sentenced to death and then executing it. Executing death.
I don't know.
Being executed, yes.
I don't know. It's probably in Texas, but I don't know.
Imagine,
but I mean,
like,
but like the average amount of time an inmate spends on death row
Like 10
is a
years.
decade.
Yeah.
So you're paying for him. Now, let's say...
And then all the court appearances cost a lot of money, too.
Yeah, of course. And Dahmer didn't last 10 years. Maybe this Nicholas Cruz kid won't either.
No, but I feel like Dahmer was different because he was in Gen Pop. Like, they didn't treat him necessarily like a celebrity. He had, like, a cellmate and everything like that.
Yeah, but he
That
wasn't for a while.
But
He was by himself, and then he wanted to die. So I don't know that this Nicholas Cruz kid wanted to die. Dahmer wanted to die. It's just that Wisconsin didn't have the death penalty. So they gave him 15 whatevers. We watched they had the Netflix Dahmer thing too, but they also had the Dahmer tapes.
Oh, you watched that too?
I did, because it's him talking to the lawyers. That was more interesting to me than the dramatization version of whatever. And so it's him talking to the lawyers. And he's like, when he finally tells his lawyer that he wants to go into general population, she's like, you don't want to do that. You're not going to make it. Because he was by himself for a while, for like a year and a half. And he goes, I'm missing, because he had become baptized and all this crap. And so whatever, too little too late, but for him to start being empathetic toward other people. But he's like, I'm missing human connection with people. I want to be interacting with people. And she's like, you're not going to make it if you go into general population. And he didn't. He got killed like very short period of time after he got put into general population. So who knows how long this kid will last. I mean, this kid, he might not live his whole life. So even if somebody
he'll live his whole life.
That's right. He will live his whole life.
We just
It's
don't
true.
know how long that will be.
Yeah.
We don't have the Ouija board anymore, so we can't find out.
But a lot of very upset families there. I was also reading about I give colleges a hard time. I'm kind of on the side of people more and more and more who are like, college is a bunch of nonsense. Depending on what you're studying. Obviously, the stories that you hear are the kooky ones, like the one at University of California, where they're teaching a class on Nicki Minaj. Because why not? University of California, Berkeley, which should come as no surprise. But they're going to teach a class on Nicki Minaj next year. The class will examine the rapper in the context of broader historical, social structures. So who knows? You can take Simpsons classes now, all kinds of pop culture stuff. And now they're going to have one on Nicki Minaj. So if you're planning on matriculating at University of California, Berkeley, maybe just something to consider that you can take that class.
Is she the one that's married to the guy that had the thing, the rape or whatever?
She's married to a registered sex offender.
That's the one.
That's right. Now, do you know how I know, Poundcake, that none of these kids are going to be late for that class?
Why?
Oh, that's how I know.
Yeah.
Radio jokes, Bill.
Radio jokes.
Radio jokes.
His dance is what kills me.
I can't even talk about having like a pop culture class because my teacher had the Star Wars class. He was the one that was teaching the class on Star Wars.
Stop taking pop culture classes in college.
I didn't take
Stop
that class,
it.
but it
I'm
was
not talking.
offered.
You, at least, hey, we bust your balls about dinosaurs and oceans. At least those are science classes. People go,
science classes.
I have $400,000 in student debt. What did you study? Nicki Minaj and Simpsons? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like a 1-credit class. It's like $300.
Why waste the credit?
You spend more than that because you need the credit. And if it's something like a 1-credit class and it's something like Nicki Minaj, you'll ace it if you're a true barb.
What if they make it really hard? Somebody's going to get a D in Nicki Minaj.
Then they should have taken Jessica Simpson.
Boy. I've got to take a break here. We're going to weigh Poundcake shortly. It is Thursday as he is on his way towards the end of the year and hopefully hitting his goal and hopefully getting $200 from our own Mary Santora. So we'll weigh him in a little bit. If you want to text for anything, 35192 to get me there. And you can listen anywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7
WMMS.
tomorrow afternoon.
High drama in the Bronx.
Game 2. Guardians, Yankees.
First pitch at 1:07.
October